You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi, you're listening to my mom, Georgia Edson, on iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi, happy Monday, August 19th. I'm Georgia, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio. August 19th. Like, the heat of the summer is back on. We had this whole reprieve for a little while, and everyone thought, let me just tell you, for those of you who have not spent time in Colorado, there are 4 distinct seasons. All of them are beautiful. We have summer, right? Gorgeous, hot. Big fluffy clouds. We get some rain. We have fall, where the leaves change colors, and we have these brisk mornings, beautiful sunny afternoons. It's every once in a while we get 1 or 2 snowstorms. Then we have this thing called winter, and it's cold and beautiful, and we get gorgeous snow, and it all melts off a couple days later, and then we'll get some more, and it's beautiful. Then we have this thing called spring, and spring, all the flowers bloom, and the bulbs come out, and the trees get their leaves again. And people in Colorado complain about every single season. It is too hot. It is too cold. The sun is shining too much. It's raining too much. Shut up. Shut up. It is beautiful here. These folks should go to, like, Oklahoma.
Go back wherever they came from.
Or wherever they came from, where it is 5,000% humidity at any given moment.
Yeah.
And, you go straight from one crappy, uncomfortable season to another crappy, uncomfortable season, or you miss seasons altogether. I mean, where I come from, you only have really one season, and then you have teasers of some other seasons. So you have summer in South Florida, which lasts from approximately April to October. And then you have fall, which is essentially November and December. And then January, February, you have winter, and then February and March is spring, and then April comes around and you're in summer again. So people stop that complaining. It is just silliness. But anyhow, it's a beautiful day. We are warm and gorgeous, and we have a fun and exciting show today. As always, I'm in the studio with my producer Chris. What's happening?
Hello.
And of course, Sam is with me.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Georgia?
Good. Sam has been showing his dad around a little bit this weekend, and that's been fun.
I love it when my family comes out. And my uncle is here, traveling musician.
So nice.
Yeah, it's great. We're all together.
That's very fun.
Very
peaceful.
peaceful.
Very fun. Very peaceful. Very peaceful. Well, tonight's not going to be peaceful. Tonight's going to be fun and crazy.
That's what I like.
Yes. So, of course, it's the third Monday of the month, and so that always means that we have our cannabis history lesson with Greg Daurer. What's up, Greg?
Hi, how are you doing tonight, Georgia?
Good, thank you. So we're going to talk to Greg a little bit later on in the show, but our first guest tonight is my brother from another mother, Bill Shengalis, the chairman of the U.S. Marijuana Party. Welcome.
A.K.A. Wayward Bill.
A.K.A. on Facebook, Wayward Bill.
I'm doing good tonight, Georgia, everybody. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you so much for coming. You have a lot to talk about. You've had some crazy travels, and you have some exciting events coming up as well. So where should we start?
Let's start at the crazy travels. Back in June 17th, I was down in D.C., and I always carry medibles because in events in D.C., nobody can walk out the door and medicate. I was in the House of Representatives cafeteria in their office building, and I had already talked to 14 people that I basically knew and medicated them because they didn't have any access. It's all about safe access in D.C., even though the dispensary is now open. It wasn't open that day. And I picked a guy, that was sitting at the end of the table with Students for Sensible Drug Policy, and he was in a wheelchair, and I walked up to him, and I go, "Are you a medical marijuana patient?" And he kind of gurgled a yes. And then, I go, "Well, would you like a piece of medicated candy to help you see you through your lobby day?" And I gave him the piece of candy. It was 50 milligrams, 2 pieces of hard candy. And he dropped it. I picked it up for him, and I said, "Enjoy," and walked away. Well, about 45 minutes later, I had a Capitol policeman. There's so many levels of police there, but this was, they have police just for the Capitol building, or for the senators and that. And this lady runs up to me and goes, "What's this?" And I looked at it. I go, "I think it's a piece of candy, ma'am." And she goes, "You know what it is." And right away, I knew that that you don't lie to them. As soon as you start lying, it's going to go all against you.
Sure.
And I said, "Ma'am, it's a piece of marijuana candy." And she shook her finger at me with the free hand and goes, "Well, you can't be passing this out in here." And I go, "Okay, am I under arrest?" She goes, "No, we haven't decided what to do with you yet. Would you please stand here?" And I had Herb Rosenfeld. I was talking to Herb Rosenfeld at the table, and he kind of saw what was going on. He winked at me, grabbed his tray, and got the hell out of there.
Right.
And so I'm standing there, and I'm thinking, man, I got some candy in one pocket, and I got my vape pen and 2 cartridges and some pot in my suit pocket. And she hadn't searched me, hadn't cuffed me, didn't pat me down. And I go, "I bet you want the rest of this candy." And I threw it out on the table, out of my pocket. At the same time, suddenly she's distracted. People suddenly crowded in, and I was able to pass off everything else that was on me. It was just, okay, I got to lighten it up here and make the best out of it. I'm not proud of being busted in D.C. So anyway, they did rough me and cuff me and took me down to jail, and spent the night in their tomb, wherever that was. I have yet to figure out where their jail was, and went to court the next day, and went in front of the judge, and they asked me to basically do urine testing and to hook up with VA for mental health treatment again, because I was honest with them, and they. In the hot UA, that I gave them before court, and went about my, and it took all day because they couldn't figure out what to do with me. I was the last case of the day. I was there till 5:30 in the afternoon, and they released me. I went back to Maryland, came back here. In the interim, they offered me a plea deal that was totally unacceptable.
What were they charging you with?
I was charged with distribution. And intent to distribute. I mean, possession for distribution and intent to distribute, i.e. cannabis, and which are two misdemeanors in D.C. I was surprised at that for federal law. And so anyway, I got released. I came back here, and they offered me a deal, and I can't even remember what the first deal, but it was just ludicrous. And then 3 days before I was supposed to go to D.C., I get a call from my public defender who had worked with Robert Corey, and and only in a conference call we were all 3 at. This lady did it on her own. They came back they wanted me to plead guilty to simple possession, and they wanted me to do community service, probation, and drug testing. Got there in D.C., talked to my attorney. She goes, I'm going to shoot for unsupervised probation and everything else because you're out of state. And she got up there, gave her spiel. I got up in front of the judge, gave my spiel. In my spiel, I said, and I was straight up honest with her. I said, "I'm chairman of the United States Marijuana Party, ma'am. I need to travel in order to do my job. And my job is voluntary. It's something that I don't get paid for." And I also told her that I was a patient in Colorado and asked her if she would like to see my license. I gave her my license, and she entered it into evidence. There were a few more words. I can't even remember what they were. And she took about 5 minutes to review my case, and she turned around and basically came back, and she goes, this court doesn't really know what to do with this because I've never had anybody on unsupervised community service before.
Right.
There's no way that I can monitor that.
Yeah.
And it would just be too much trouble for this court. I'm going to toss that out.
Yay.
And then she goes and the same thing with unsupervised probation. that unless you get in trouble, that there's no way that, I know what's going on in your life. And she tossed that out. And then she goes, and that your urines are going to be dirty too because you're a patient in Colorado. And she tossed that out. And she goes, but I do have to do something here today. She goes, I can fine you up to $250 for the Victims Relief Fund. I'm fining you $50. Can you pay it today?
Excellent.
So yeah, it's still at the cost of having to go back
Sure.
to DC. It was about $650.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I walked away with basically a slap on the hand. That I'm surprised that it has given me a new spiritual outlook in life, because I walked away, and there must be a purpose for that, and I'll continue to carry the message. She didn't have no problem with me saying that I was chairman of the United States Marijuana Party, so I'm going to work harder for nobody's free until we're all free.
That's right. That's right. Wow. That must have been just such an ordeal.
Yeah, it was an ordeal. And I'd like to apologize to Robert Platshorn and students for sensible drug policy. I kind of marred their day, but me and Robert have worked it out online. We've talked about it. Basically, we all make ripples in the water, and sometimes our ripples affect other people. I have heard that the Silver Tour has lost sponsorships because of my actions. If anybody is listening that has dropped Robert Platshorn and the Silver Tour because of what I did in D.C., please pick him back up. He doesn't deserve the ire of what happened to me.
Absolutely. I mean, your actions weren't on behalf of the Silver Tour.
No, I take. That's one of the things that I did in court. I totally admitted that yes, I had this on me. Yes, even with the DC cops, I admitted the whole thing
Right.
all the way through, and that they do look at that when you go to court. That I didn't roll over anybody. There wasn't anybody to roll over on except myself.
That's right. That's right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, a little bit on the early side, and come back, and we'll have a couple more minutes to be able to talk about what's going on with you in addition to that.
Okay.
You're listening to iCannabis Radio. My name's Georgia, and we'll be right back.
The Law Office of Edson, Mayton and Matz provides criminal defense, family law, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running a medical marijuana center, optional premises cultivation operation, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout the state of Colorado. We're focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. WarrenEdson.com. Edson, Mayton and Matz in Denver, 303-831-8188, and in Aspen, 970-948-7183. WarrenEdson.com.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
Welcome back. We are talking to Wayward Bill, Bill Shangalis, the chairman of the U.S. Marijuana Party, about a not-so-fun trip to Washington, D.C. However, you have some exciting events coming up. Tell us a little bit about what you've got coming up.
As of yesterday, or actually today, I got picked up for, I'll be speaking at Hempstock in Portland, Oregon on the 7th and 8th. For their annual Hempstock. It's always a fun time. It's a lot more laid back than Hempfest. I mean, there's not 250,000 people. It's on the peninsula, the confluence of the Willamette and Columbia rivers. There's
Nice.
plenty of woods and just little spurs where, they got a Jack Harrow lane, and but it's not all together as a big thing, and there's only one stage.
Nice.
Also, I've been invited along with Jason Love to the first annual Austin Hempfest, and that's not in Austin, Texas, but Austin, Minnesota. That is on September 15th. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's great that that Jason will be there along too. It's being put on by Deanna Jean Fact. You might have her as a Facebook friend up there in Minnesota. And I'm looking forward to going that because unlike the bigger festivals that it's the first annual, and
it's exciting,
and won't be speaking to the choir.
That's right. That sounds wonderful. Excellent. Anything else going on with you?
Yes, I need to make a very serious apology. I got caught in a lie talking about on a thread about being a Vietnam veteran. I've been living that lie for a long time. I am not a Vietnam veteran. I spoke about ear lobbing and 77 kills, 3 hand-to-hand. Kind of blew it up about the atrocity of war. This guy by name of Stephen Giles, who runs a blog for Vietnam veterans, and also This Is What It Looks Like from Hell or something. I can't remember the name of the blog. Went through the trouble of getting my basically assignment and training records, and outed me for lying. It happened on Veterans Day last year. I'd like to apologize to all the Vietnam veterans that I may have hurt in my lie. It was a sucky war. All wars are sucky. I used it to protect myself in prison by saying that I was a Vietnam veteran. And once you tell a lie, you have to carry that lie out. And I did get caught in the lie. And I appreciate that Stephen Giles, outed me on that. Now I'd like to say this to Stephen Giles. Mr. Giles, you picked a picture with a woman with me to do that on a post. That woman had nothing to do with the lie. You made her a victim. That makes you just as bad as me, dude. I mean, you need to apologize to her. I've apologized to the veterans of America for lying. You need to fucking write your ass up too.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I know that that it was very freeing to you when you were able to say that yes, indeed, you had been lying about your service in the Vietnam War, and it's important to free yourselves from those lies. For whatever reason, why someone chooses to start down the road of being dishonest, it's a heavy burden to carry, and so I'm glad that you came clean.
Yeah, Crystal Hash did not deserve to be in that picture. And why you chose that picture, maybe you thought you would break up our friendship, and that will never happen, dude.
He chose that picture because Crystal's gorgeous. That's why.
Hopefully that's it. But, it caused her, sexual innuendos, why she was hanging out with me, because she's 30 years my younger. But she's my best friend, and the person that I can find in the most, and it's vice versa. I mean, we've been doing it for 4 years. We've gone through the phase of you're the person I love to hate the most, and made it through all that. And she didn't deserve to become a victim, dude. You made her a victim. You're a victimizer.
Yeah, we support you, Crystal, absolutely. Well, my dear brother, thank you so much, as always, for being on the show. We really appreciate it, and I'm glad that your trip to D.C. did not end as horribly as it could have, and I know that your next few speaking engagements will be incredible.
Yeah, I know they will. My agent told me at the beginning of the year that this is my year. I've had a TV show. My speaking engagements are picking up. The U.S. Marijuana Party is growing exponentially, and there's more to come.
Absolutely.
Nothing but good. And my since my bust in D.C., my attitude and spirituality have taken a 360. I'm looking at just being glad every day and glad to be alive.
Excellent. Well, you've got some support on the chat room today. Definitely from from Don and Wes, some big supports for you. So wonderful. Thank you so much for being on. Shifting gears a little bit, it is that time, Greg Daurer, where we have so much fun. But I'm gonna steal your thunder for just a second, if you don't mind.
Continue, Georgia. Do some news, or
Well,
what
sort
do you
of.
do? What's up there?
Well, so I was prepping for the show a little bit and had some things I want to talk about just for a second. I found this article in The Guardian, Legalize Marijuana, Tax It, and End NYC's Wrong-Headed War on Pot. A 4-page article about New York legalizing marijuana, and says instead of Bloomberg's failed prohibition policy and discredited NYPD stop and frisk tactic, a regulated trade can fund education. And I just love this beginning of this article, and this came out on the 2 days ago, on the 17th. It's time to recognize that New York's misguided war on marijuana has failed. Instead of spending millions on low-level drug prosecutions that disproportionately affect communities of color, why not regulate the city's $1.65 billion marijuana market and use the tax revenues to cut City University's tuition in half? Instead of sending kids to the courthouse, let's send them to college. What do we think about that?
That's a radical idea.
Let's send him to college. I love it. A new report by the city comptroller's office found that regulating marijuana sales would raise $400 million annually, plus save another $31 million by allocating resources spent on marijuana-related arrests. Regulating marijuana would also offer relief to those suffering from a wide range of painful medical conditions, make our streets safer. To be clear, under my proposal, and this is the city comptroller, my proposal, only adults age 21 and over would be allowed to possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana, which would be grown, processed, and sold by government-licensed businesses for recreational and medicinal purposes. How novel. I wonder where some of these ideas came from. There would be strict prohibitions on driving under the influence and marijuana use in public. The way it stands now, an arrest for a possession of even small amounts of pot can have serious consequences. Right, Bill?
That's right.
Right. Those convicted of a marijuana offense cannot receive federal student loans and may have trouble getting a job or housing. Low-level marijuana arrests have skyrocketed during Mayor Bloomberg's tenure and are directly related to New York City's discriminatory stop-and-frisk police tactic. I hate that. That just freaks me out. That's just okay. And that stop-and-frisk police tactic unfairly targets blacks and Hispanics and has been ruled unconstitutional. Since Mayor Bloomberg took office in 2002, there have been almost 460,000 misdemeanor marijuana arrests. In 12 years, 460,000 misdemeanor marijuana arrests. And while black and Hispanics make up 45% of pot smokers in New York City, they account for 86% of possession arrests. The bottom line is that if you're white and smoke marijuana, you're far less likely to be stopped and arrested than if you're a person of color. True, true. Under my plan, we'll invest in young people's future instead of ruining them. In our study, we estimate that 830,000 people in the New York City metro area have smoked pot in the past year. Woo! Amounting to about 5 ounces per person at $400 an ounce. Why not tax it? Well, first of all, the ounces aren't going to be $400, but that's okay. We'll just use his slightly inflated numbers.
Well, that's a street price. And that's a true street price for
But
New York.
it won't last.
Yeah.
As soon as the tax and regulate model comes in, prices are going to drop. But nonetheless, we'll just move with it. What's more, marijuana is less addictive than alcohol. So just as prohibition of alcohol was lifted decades ago, why not do the same for pot? It's so interesting. It's like he's coming up with these ideas on his own. It's fantastic. Mayor Bloomberg has referred to medical marijuana as one of the great hoaxes of our time. This, despite the fact that the vast majority of the medical professionals, 76% of doctors polled recently by the New England Journal of Medicine, said that they would prescribe, he means recommend, marijuana for the relief of certain cancers. What's more, citizens in 20 states and the District of Columbia now have voted to approve marijuana for medical purposes. To study issues related to regulation, licensing, and implementation, my office is calling for the creation of an interagency task force of experts from the New York Police Department, Administration of Children's Services, Department of Education, Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, District Attorneys, and the Department of Consumer Affairs. The task force would work with the New York State Senate and Assembly to pass legislation authorizing implementation of the plan. This proposal comes on the heels of the U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder's announcement that the Obama administration is overhauling federal sentencing guidelines to eliminate mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent drug offenses. This is a solid step forward, but it does not do enough to resolve the growing conflict between state and federal laws regarding the overcriminalization of marijuana. It's time to implement a responsible alternative. Let's legalize and regulate and use the tax proceeds to help more kids go to college. Here, freaking here.
I don't like that Bloomberg guy.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to be in office next,
Yeah, he's
season,
termed
so-
out.
Yeah.
Well, and even if he wasn't, I mean, that statement alone shows how absolutely out of touch he is with the up-and-coming voters.
Yeah, no, I just hate the whole policy, though. The whole thing. If you do get stopped and frisked, usually they say, "What's in your pockets?" And possession of marijuana is just a small offense in New York City. But if you listen to the police and they say, "What's in your pockets?" and you take out and show them your marijuana, well, that's public display. And
So
that's
they're asking you to commit a crime.
Worse, a worse crime.
Right.
And it's kind of entrapment in a way.
Absolutely. So on the front of this article, they show, Chris, can you show this? This is a picture. I don't know how this is related, but that's a picture of Rihanna's purse.
Ah.
The girl's got a nice bag with a big old leaf on it. Rihanna's not afraid. But anyhow, I just
Sure,
kind of
that's no nickel bag.
No, right.
It's the big dime bag.
Right. Also this
Drop
week,
the 10K bag.
yeah, right. Did you hear that Nigel Bradham got popped for pot? Buffalo Bills linebacker was charged with unlawful possession of marijuana following a traffic stop. 23, he was pulled over in Tonawanda, New York, for a window tint violation shortly after 2 a.m. My guess is the police can't see how tinted your windows are at 2 a.m., but nonetheless. Bradham admitted to having a small amount of marijuana in his vehicle and was given a ticket to appear in court. We're still in the process of gathering the facts surrounding the report, and we will reserve comment until we have completed that process, the bill said in a statement. He was a fourth-round draft pick in 2012. Big freaking deal, right?
Well, it's, I study the news because I posted up on Warren Edson, the Edson Maitland and Matt's website. And, you look at Google News and other news, compilers, and there's always articles about a college player arrested for marijuana, or a professional basketball player cited for it, or a football player, or this, that. And somebody asked me recently, what's the deal with that? Because I was explaining it. It's really titillation. It's the non-smoking public's titillation over this whole thing. It's like sex and drugs, and that's what was going on with some of the reefer madness articles of the 50s or so. It would be marijuana found in sex orgy probe, or gal had weed for sale stashed in her bra. That was like the article headlines in the Rocky Mountain News,
Right.
or Denver Post. And it's really just a continuation of this titillation of the deviant, the outsider. But as we continue to keep seeing, these are what we consider respectable people. For the most part, people who are sports players, they may or may not be respectable. But they can be, for sure.
Sure, lots and
Why
lots
not?
of people smoke
and
pot.
marijuana smokers.
That's right. I do a lot of research as well, and especially because we're trying to get more sort of entertainment news, and it's amazing to me how many arrest articles there are. A variety, not just celebrities, but a variety of crazy arrest stories, and people who do crazy, strange things, and marijuana is a piece of it. Very often it's, 15 whatever kilos of cocaine were found, and then 3 joints. So it's often an add-on as well. But that's exciting, and people want to hear about that, and that is titillating. And I think I just said tit on my show, but I mean it still interests people. We're still fascinated by that kind of crime. It's sort of interesting. We did have a slightly interesting article that I want to talk about, but we're going to take a quick break first and thank our sponsors, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happens when you buy a safe in Ohio.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com.
The National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
Hi, welcome back. We were just talking about delays, and I was like staring off into space. Welcome back. I'm Georgia, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio. Duh, because you typed in iCannabis Radio on your search engine, and there we are.
Might be in their favorites.
It's in mine.
Yeah, I type in the letter I, and it just pops up.
There you go.
Yeah. Of course, I come to our site a lot, like a lot.
That's that Google tracking.
Right, Big Brother.
Watch out.
Big Brother. So before we kind of do our history lesson and talk a little bit about your week last week, I promised that we would talk about what happens when you buy a safe in Ohio. This is an article that came out today from Toledo, Ohio. You guys ever been to Toledo?
No, I've been outside Cincinnati, though.
Okay. Toledo?
Can't say I have.
Yeah, Chris, ever been? Yeah, no one's been to Toledo. I'm sure it's lovely, and especially for this gentleman. A man in Western Ohio found 285 pounds of marijuana stuffed into a Mexican-made gun storage safe that he recently purchased on the internet, and they capitalized internet in this article. Do you capitalize internet, Greg?
I think you're supposed to. Yeah.
It's a proper name, internet.
It's probably the style guidelines of the Associated Press. They probably capitalize it. I'll find it.
You find out and tell
while
me.
You're doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 1,000-pound steel safe ordered from Champion Safe Company of Provo, Utah. So there's a whole bunch of things I want to talk about with that sentence. One is this article just increased the revenue of the Champion Safe Company like 100-fold.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be ordering their gun safes from this company in the hopes that they're going to find 285 pounds of marijuana. And then the idea that this safe company that gets its safes from Mexico is located in Provo, Utah, where they don't like the whole marijuana thing so much. In fact, they don't like the alcohol thing or the tobacco thing or the caffeine thing, or really they don't like anything in Provo, Utah.
Other than the polygamy thing.
Right, they do. They might like that so much. It was made in Nogales, Mexico, and shipped by truck from Mexico to Champion's warehouse near Mansfield, Ohio. The safe was delivered on June 19th, so a couple months ago, to the customer in Western Ohio by an independent driver working for Champion. So Champion got the safe from Nogales, Mexico. It was sent from Mexico to their warehouse in Ohio, and then an independent driver who contracts with Champion then drove it to this very surprised gentleman outside of Toledo. The marijuana, tightly wrapped in 10 20-pound packages, has an estimated street value of $420,000. The real reason why I'm reading this article, not $425,000, not $415,000, not around $400,000, but no, $420,000.
I think the wrong independent contractor picked up that safe. I think probably somebody else was supposed to. Or maybe it was an elaborate practical joke. Hey,
It's an expensive.
how about we put 285 pounds of marijuana in the
Right?
safe and send it to this guy?
Let's see what happens. Well, I mean, for me, it's so surprising it went through so many hands. I don't understand how.
Where was our border patrol?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a great question. You would think that would be a pretty obvious thing to be checked and opened going through the border, but clearly it wasn't. When it got to the warehouse in Mansfield, clearly they don't have a protocol that opens these safes. You've got to wonder how many times that this has happened, and it just the interception point actually happened, where clearly the interception point didn't happen here. So the sheriff said that his office has been working with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration on the case and has decided not to reveal it publicly to avoid impeding the investigation. Authorities are not releasing the name of the customer for personal safety reasons, right? Because he got someone else's weed for sure. The driver who delivered the safe to the customer has been cleared of any wrongdoing. Duh, because if it was his weed, it never would have made it to this guy in Toledo. The sheriff said the DEA normally would not be interested in what is considered by federal agents to be a relatively small amount of marijuana.
Times change.
But the DEA is interested in learning more about the delivery method and size of such an operation. Quote, it's a pretty decent way of smuggling, the sheriff said. Sorry. My guess is that it's not the first time it's happened. Right. That would be my guess too. But it made me beg the question. So we've talked about this, kind of touched on it briefly over time, especially around 420, April 20th. The number 420 in my mind pops up a lot, like a lot. We talked at one point about the television show Regular Show, and how there's a scene where they have a VCR set or the TV set or something, and in one point in the show, it's set for 420. Like they flash the time, and the time is 420, and that seems to happen. And this is a kid show. Trust me, it's a kid show. Hilarious, but
it's written by adults who.
Yes, right. It's written by clever adults. But the number 420 comes up a lot, and the more you kind of pay attention to it, the more it happens, and the more you.
That's true.
Yeah,
Robert Anton Wilson pointed that out in the past. He was a writer and occultist and general free thinker, and actually wouldn't label himself with any label for long unless he was trying to see what it looked like to live inside that label. But the number 23 was big. And it was used in William S. Burroughs' books, and Wilson wrote a lot about the number 23. In the I Ching, it's the number of breaking apart, and I read that stuff, and I see 23s all the time.
Isn't it funny? Yeah. You start to notice those things.
Absolutely.
So there's all of these rumors about what 420 means, and everyone thinks that they know, the actual story, but the reality is that no one's entirely sure how 420 got to be the number that represents the marijuana culture. 710, totally different story. Like, that was a made-up thing that, very clever, I'll have to say. 710 is oil backwards. But there's so many stories about how 420
There's
came
some
to be.
Competing stories.
Yeah. And so Wikipedia and I are friends. Like, I definitely find it to be a valuable research site, and they have pages of references about 420, and really they just describe 420 pronounced 420 is a code term used primarily in North America that refers to the consumption of cannabis by extension as a way to identify oneself with cannabis subculture or simply cannabis itself. Observances based on the number 420 include smoking cannabis around the time 420, with some sources also including 420 a.m. on any given day, as well as also smoking cannabis on the date April 20th. But they give the origins to be a whole bunch of different things. But first of all, probably the story that's the most common is a widely discussed story that a group of teenagers in San Rafael, California, calling themselves the Waldos because their chosen hangout spot was a wall outside the school, used the term in connection with the fall 1971 plan to search for an abandoned cannabis crop that they had learned about. The Waldos designated the Louis Pasteur statue on the grounds of the San Rafael High School as their meeting place and 420 as their meeting time. The Waldos referred to this plan with the phrase 420 Louis. Multiple failed attempts to find the crop eventually shortened their phrase to simply 420, which ultimately evolved into a code word that the teens used to mean pot smoking in general. Mike Edison says that Steve Hagar of High Times was responsible for taking the story about the Waldos to a mind-boggling cult-like extremes and suppressing all other stories around the origin of the term. They talk about how April 20th has become a counterculture holiday, which is funny because I don't think that it's so counterculture any longer. I don't think it's a subculture any longer, and certainly not in Colorado. Maybe in other states, but this is now the culture. And I think about a funny story. There's a gentleman by the name of Steve Fox who was instrumental in the Amendment 64 campaign. He was with NCIA, and now he's doing some private consulting. And he had a Facebook post this weekend that made me laugh so hard. He and his 10-year-old daughter were at a restaurant, and she was ordering pasta, and she asked for her pasta and if she could have the marijuana sauce on the side. And the waiter says to her, "You want marijuana sauce on the side?" And she giggles and she says, obviously she meant marinara sauce. But that's not subculture. That's culture. That's
mainstream.
That's mainstream now. That's it. We've done it. And, we've talked about, CNN and Katie Couric and the doctors and all of these. This is no longer something that is associated with 1968 and protesting. This is evolved into all that stands for is just part of the culture. And I recognize that in Colorado we're probably a little bit more advanced in that, but overall, the country in general is really moving in that direction very quickly.
Yeah, it's gone from culture to lexicon.
Yes, absolutely. So I want all your 420 stories. I've also heard that was the San Francisco police's code for when they were arresting someone for marijuana possession. It was a 420. So yeah, I just thought that was funny. But $420,000 worth of marijuana in one little gun safe. So Greg, if you're going to order a gun safe, don't have it delivered to the office, all right?
All right, sounds good. We'll go ahead and I'll agree to that.
Champion Safe Company is the way to go, from what I hear.
I'm Googling them right now.
Yeah. They're psyched, man.
Several people know.
So right. So you
Yes.
stumbled across this thing called Hempfest.
I did. I stumbled upon it. I had made a plan to go up to Seattle to see a band that my gal and I really like called Mudhoney. And they were a grunge punk band that started in 1988, and they kicked off the Seattle scene of that era and helped put a label called Sub Pop on the map, and it led to bands like Nirvana, For Good or Worse, and they were playing a free show beneath the Space Needle at a little amphitheater there, which was great. So we decided to go up, and I just happened to be doing the news article thing and said, oh, wow, Seattle Hempfest is going on. So why not combine a trip up to Seattle and, take in both? So that's what we did. We drove up there and walked down from the Space Needle area, because that's where we parked, that area, to the waterfront where not 420. We have 420 here in Denver. There in Seattle, they have Hempfest. And they've had it since 1992. Actually, it started in 91 as the Washington Hemp Expo. And then it became Hempfest the next year. And it's been going on as pretty much for 22 years. But actually, in 1990, I went to Seattle for the first time, and I would think it was around that same area, the Space Needle, walking around, and a guy with long black hair and bare chest, he had no shirt on, it was summer as well. He was holding up a sign with a leaf on it, and it said, legalize hemp, something like that. And there was about 4 or 5 or 6 other people going down the street, holding it up and chanting and stuff. And I said, this is great, I'm coming from Denver where we're doing this right now too. So I talked with him, I didn't learn his name. For all I know, it might have been Vivian McPeak, the man who started the Seattle Hempfest. I just don't know at this point. But I joined in an early pre-Hempfest rally, a little protest in Seattle, my first trip to Seattle. I just stumbled upon that as well. So this year, went to Hempfest. Just as this long walkway to get to the park area, the waterfront area. Pretty beautiful day. Beautiful in the sense that it looked beautiful. The sun, it was about 85 degrees, and it was humid as hell. And the sweat was it was like the tropics. It really was. Seattle really is a very humid and muggy city. Sometimes you just feel it in your bones because it's so overcast and rainy, but this day it was just, the moisture was just seeping out of you because it was so hot. But had a blast walking around the grounds of the Hempfest. I was just coming over the bridge and they said, Cheryl Schumann done. Still walking. It took like 10 minutes to walk along this bridge to get to the waterfront for the Hempfest. And Keith Stropp from Normal was on. We're not criminals, Keith was saying. And so got there, and I didn't take any smoke photos, but I have a few that we could look at. They're the boring type of photos.
We're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna pull the photos
maybe
up.
Even Wayward Bill will share a Seattle Hempfest memory.
We'll be right back.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
High up in the Rockies is beautiful Frisco, Colorado. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is a medical marijuana center with compassion for Colorado's medical patients. Looking for great meds grown organically in soil? You've come to the right place. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is just off I-70 at exit 203. Check them out at the web at www.mmrockies.com. Their ever-changing strain and clone selection is updated on the website daily. When making a trip to the mountains, no matter the season, stop by Medical Marijuana of the Rockies. Make sure you say you heard about them on iCannabis Radio. You can call 970-668-MEDS to get more information. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, your mountain source for meds.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say,
Talk it up, Colorado. Welcome back. Greg, do you want to pull up a few of your Hempfest photos where Cheryl Schumann, our friend, was named Activist of the Year. Congratulations, Cheryl.
Congratulations. You can just go through them, and I'll look and see what you're showing there. Yeah, there's a view of the stage, and beautiful banners, and there was bands playing, and
that leaf, the flag leaf, that's my screensaver at work.
Awesome.
must say that the main sponsor of the Hempfest was the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, which holds clinics here in our office here occasionally. There's an ad for Rick Steves' Europe tours because Rick Steves was a big supporter of their initiative of the past that legalized it there. You can continue on. Hempfest history, been going on for 22 years. They're going to have a documentary and a book out about it. Or they already have the book out, documentary about soon.
Excellent.
They sell stuff like they do in Denver there. Some bongs, Hemp Festival shirts. We can make a screen printed shirt right there, just like you could at the Hood Lab here. Oh, there's the view.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That is so pretty.
Oh, there's some relief salves for dogs and for pets. CBD. One guy was asking people if they felt any pain and if they wanted, he'd spray their back or neck, and it was high CBD spray.
Really?
Awesome.
I've got to talk to a vet. There's been a few vets.
Yeah, that would be good to have on the show.
Yeah.
Chiba Chews is out there too. They have their own booth explaining the product. Yeah, more crowd photos. It wasn't packed, but there was a lot of people, especially walking along where all the booths were.
And you were there Friday, right?
Yeah, I was there Friday. I was there for 420.
Good timing.
Lots of people were smoking, but I didn't see like a mass exhale of smoke. But I wasn't right up against the stage. People were smoking everywhere. There's Danny Danko for the High
Danny.
Times.
That's a sweet picture.
It was nice speaking with them. Talked about both our histories writing for High Times. Oh, this little shot, past. There's the banner for one of the tents, a company there, and the bay, and a little boat on it, and we just had to get in under those tents because it was so freaking hot out there, just so hot. Got vape, little mini Zeppelin, another view of
It's so pretty.
the sound.
What nice weather they had.
Yeah.
What nice weather.
I would just say it was a little extreme on the heat end, but yeah.
At least it wasn't raining.
Because they show previous pictures of it. I've seen previous pictures, and it's gray and overcast. I like that one, the hemp ice cream with the Space Needle and the U.S. flag all together. That's one of my favorites.
That's Americana right there.
It is Americana right there. So, yeah, went up there to see Mudhoney, ran into the Hempfest, and even Mudhoney joked about it because obviously there was in the crowd by the Space Needle, there was a few waves of smoke coming in here and there, and Mark Arm, the singer of Mudhoney, says, it seems like the Hempfest has come to us. And when he was out here in Denver, I saw him a couple months ago, there's Further, the psychedelic bus of Ken Kesey. It's the second version, but Ken did ride on it, and that's Ken Kesey's son, Zane. But Mark Arm of Mudhoney, when he was out here in Denver, said, you ever get the feeling that Washington and Colorado are sister states? Nobody ever has to play Legalize It Again by Peter Tosh. Unless you really want to hear the song.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, the grunge history of Seattle and previous Hempfests. Band 7 Year Bitch played. It was the first year they supposedly had people, pushing people on their hands, crowd surfing all around. So, wild history. Just everybody, a who's who of people involved in the cannabis movement have spoken there over the years. Woody Harrelson has spoken at 420. There's been great art produced as far as the flyers for it. It is culture in Americana.
Well, and this year was a little different. I'm sure everyone by now has heard about the Seattle Police Department's friendly way to help people understand what the rules are in Seattle.
Officer friendly offering snacks.
Yep. So on bags of Doritos, and it's on it. There's a picture of it on our Facebook page.
Yep.
Police were handing out small bags of Doritos, and on the bag was a nice little reminder of what's legal and what's not legal, and their desire for people to have fun. And we posted that this weekend, and people were just thrilled about it. But what's interesting is these bags of Doritos are being sold on eBay now.
Right now, one is going for it's gotten up to $58 for this bag of Doritos that has a message on it from the Seattle Police Department, and the police presence really wasn't all that noticeable. I'm sure there were other undercover people, but I had to search to find a police officer.
Wow.
I had to search to find a police officer because I wanted one of those darn bags of Doritos as a collector's item.
Right.
Because I knew it was going to be a collector's item.
Yes.
And he said they were only handing them out on Saturday, and we were there on Friday.
So can you read what the label said on that they put on
Yeah,
them?
it says Hempfesters. We thought you might be hungry. We also thought now might be a good time for a refresher on the do's and don'ts of I-502. Don'ts: don't drive while high. Don't give, sell, or shotgun weed to people under 21. Don't use pot in public. Wink, wink.
Right.
You could be cited, but we'd rather give you a warning. Do's: listen to Dark Side of the Moon at a reasonable volume. Do enjoy Hempfest. Remember, respect your fellow voters and familiarize yourself with the rules of I-502 at SeattleGov/police/
Marrow what now?
Marrow what now?
You know what? Seattle Police Department, big ups to you.
that's
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's gone from, I guess,
what
years
now?
ago they used to do undercover buys there and arrest people and
gosh.
cite people, but times have changed. They pretty much look the other way these days, just like police do here at 420.
Yeah.
I did notice, great speakers, and I saw Ed Rosenthal, for instance, there at the Hempfest. But the speakers list is, just incredible. Ed Rosenthal's on the list. But David Bronner of, Dr. Bronner's Soaps, and Steve D'Angelo of Harborside, and Cheryl Schumann, and my gosh, Jorge Cervantes, and Jody Emery, and New Jersey Weedman.
Oh, he was there?
He was there as well.
Okay, great.
But I also noticed this on, let's see, was it Sunday or was it Saturday? The mayor of Seattle spoke.
Shut your pie hole.
There you go, my pothole.
Your pothole.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Can you picture Michael Hancock going to 420 and speaking there and
No,
and
only
saying,
only
"Hey,
when he was
crowd."
running for office and he lied. That's when I could see him do that. But now, no.
Don't see, well, maybe an event we can have him speak in the future. I don't think I've heard of a Denver mayor speaking any type of medical marijuana event, as far as I know, or now legal recreational event.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your report on Hempfest. The dogs are guarding the studio.
Go Seattle. Seattle, they kept saying, and Colorado, Washington State and Colorado are helping to change the world.
Absolutely, every single day. iCannabis Radio has a few events coming up that you guys cannot miss. First and foremost, on the 7th of September is San Rafael Palooza, which is the neighborhood big black party on the streets in Denver. It is Emerson Street between 23rd and 25th and 24th Avenue between Clarkson and Ogden. We will be broadcasting live. Yes, come see us. We'll have table. We'll have swag. There'll be bands all day and food trucks, and it's fantastic. The Bell Jar closes that night. It is so much fun. So please come and see us. And then Edson Maton and Mats is a sponsor of that event as well. And then on September 21st and 22nd, Riot Fest. We will be there. We will have a booth along with Edson Maton and Mats as well. Bands like Blink 182, The Replacements, Iggy and the Stooges, Rancid, AWOL Nation, and many, many more. It should be a fantastic time, and Chris and I are going to run the Foam Fest before at 5K, where you get all dirty and gross. Yep.
And then we'll be broadcasting from Riot Fest.
We're not broadcasting from Riot Fest.
Oh, okay.
We're not, are we? No, we're not broadcasting from Riot Fest. We're
All
going to
right.
be there, though.
All right.
And we'll give away prizes and stuff, and it'll be so much fun. Don't miss it. And then, of course, as usual, we have a fantastic week on iCannabis Radio. Tomorrow night, Sex Pot Radio with our girl Jenny Cush and, of course, Jeremy. Thursday, the Hemp Connoisseur magazine from 4 to 5. Next Monday, In the Lab with Jen, starting from 3 to 4. And then I'm on from 7 to 8 on Monday. And, of course, Monday through Friday, each day starting at 11 a.m. through 1 p.m., John Doe Radio for all your updated local news, national news, international news. Don't miss listening to JDR every day. I want to thank my sponsors, Mile High Wellness, Noto Urban Garden Supply, Edson, Maton and Matts, Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, Cuffle Collimore and Company, Medical Marijuana 101, Run on Grass. And I want to say, talk it up, Colorado. See you guys next week. Good night.